I've learned there are a couple certainties in life. Gravity always wins, and fish are not aerodynamic. I know this because of my collegiate freshman English writing assignment, to do something you've never done before and write about it. I started college at University of New Hampshire, UNH, a fine New England school with a proud tradition of hockey. And our hockey team that year was not living up to that proud tradition. Our new coach, just hired, had to take his first season off because, no joke, he needed a heart transplant. It really was no joke, I guess. Also, our starting goalie was under indictment for Grand Theft Auto. So the season was looking promising. To compensate for that, there was always a student cheering section with one student who was sort of the head unofficial cheerleader. And that person had a handful of jobs: to bang on a cowbell and get the crowd riled up, to lead pithy cheers like, "Give me a U, give me an N, give me an H, what's it spell? And after the first Wildcat goal of each game, to take a large fish and throw it on the ice. Didn't have to be any particular kind of fish. It was usually whatever leftover piece of trash the Oyster River Seafood Company had laying around. You didn't want to have to spend a lot of money on this fish. Just had to clear onto the ice. So for this writing assignment, I'd been going to hockey games for a couple of months already. I went up and asked this guy, "Hey, tonight's game, can I throw the fish?" "Sure." Now you got to understand the layout of our arena. First off, Batchelder Arena. It was this old wooden barn that was a cigarette butt away from an Australia-style conflagration. And you've seen hockey rinks. You know, there's the glass around them. And the hockey glass is about that high. And then instead of the seats going all the way up to the glass, we had an aisle. So you had like 5 feet of empty space before the bleachers started. And the bleachers were elevated, so if the glass was that high, your feet were at about this level. So you could basically see over the glass. The game is going on. They're beating the cowbell. They're leading stupid cheers. They're yelling homophobic slurs at the referee. It was the 80s. It was a different time. And we finally scored. And the crowd is going wild. And then people start going, "Fish, fish, fish." And I reached down into this hefty bag on the floor and pulled out the fish. Now remember, I've only got to get that fish across the aisle and over the glass, and I'm already above the glass. And I took that fish, gave it my best sidearm heave. You know that moment when your hand is pushing the door of your car closed, even while your brain is screaming, "My keys are in there"? I had that moment because as I'm sidearming that fish onto the ice, I realize that my hands are sliding down the tail. And by the time I get to that launch release point where your hands have to come off the fish, I mean, I'm holding on to like the tail fins. There is no force behind this throw. And that fish nosedived into the glass, went splat. And it's, basically a scale-covered bag of slime and fish guts, slid down into the aisle where some other passing student picked it up and chucked it up over the glass. I could have gone back to my dorm room, never emerged again. That would have been the respectable thing to do, and no one would have blamed me for it. But you got to get back on that bicycle. So the next week, I went back to another game. seeking redemption. And I said, I'm going to throw the fish this time. I've been thinking about it. Instead of the sidearm heave, you really need more of a shot put technique because there's nothing to grip. You just got to do that. And finally, UNH scored a goal. And the crowd is going wild. And I took that fish and gave it my best shot put heave. The problem was that also right next to that glass was the visiting team's bench. And I heaved that fish up and over, and it caught the Yale coach smack in the head. That led to what became known as the Brawl at Batchelder, when the entire Yale men's hockey team went into the stands after the UNH fans. But that's another story.